Hey, what's up, everybody? So initially this stream, I had some different plans for it. There was going to be some stats on display and everything like that. The reason it took me so long to get going, well, there's two. One, y'all know I live up by the Washington D.C. metro area, so sometimes traffic is a little rough getting home, even with taking the toll road. And for some odd reason, things I wanted to display on the screen, I couldn't. However, I will read them orally, so that way you guys can hear what I'm talking about. I can try and illustrate some of my points here as soon as I figure out how all this stuff works and everything like that, because I'm using StreamYard for the moment. Eventually, I want to get to where I can just use OBS for the live streaming and StreamYard to bring some guys in. Then maybe we'll have a little bit better of a broadcast, but we're going to go ahead and have us some fun anyway. So we should maybe have some guests come on after I do the initial part here with Sam Driscoll, I think, from the Caniac Report is going to jump on here in a little bit. Maybe the guys from Caniac Sessions can. I'm waiting to see them hit me up and everything. And then we'll see if they get to join us and everything like that. We'll do this show until about 6:45 Eastern time or so. And then we can all get ready for the game and everything like that. So I'm going to start reading off some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about that I was hoping to display on the screen that's not currently working. And then we'll go from there. So let me start pulling this stuff up here. Alrighty. All right. So first things first here. Lines for the Hurricanes, they don't look really any different. Gensel, Aho, Svechnikov for your top line. Turbo, KK, and Natchez for the second line. Martinook, Stahl, Jarvis, which, in my opinion, that line really helped turn the tide in game one when they went to that. Or in the previous, or yeah, it was game one when they went to that. And Jack Drury, centered by Evgeny Kuznetsov and Steph Nason. Defense, one big change back there. Tony DeAngelo is in the lineup based on the injury that was incurred to Brett Pesce. The good news is what is going on with Pesce. He's not ruled out for the season, so hopefully we'll see him again should Carolina advance to round two. Freddie Anderson in the starters crease, I didn't expect any change there. In the event that Carolina wins tonight, I would not be surprised to see Kochetkov play game four just so Freddie can get a little bit of a break because he will have an arduous workload ahead of him should Carolina advance. Power play one, you have Brent Burns quarterbacking, Sebastian Aho, Teuvo Teravainen, Jake Gensel, and Seth Jarvis. And then for power play number two, Brady Shea, quarterbacking Martin Necas, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Andrei Svechnikov, and Steph Nason. So no changes there. Power play percentage, Carolina is at 25%. The Islanders are sitting at 33.3, but they actually haven't had that many. They haven't had that many power plays, so that's kind of to be expected. The penalty kill looks a little bit uncharacteristic, but it's only been 2 games, so give it some time. Carolina has a 66.7 penalty kill versus the Islanders at a 75% penalty kill. Faceoff percentage, Carolina is dominating there right now through 2 games, 59.1 to 40.9. Goals for per game, Carolina is at 4, and the Islanders are at 2. Goals against per game, of course, the exact opposite the other way around. 2 for Carolina, 4 for the Islanders, or against, I should say. So going on to look at some stuff here. So I really hate I couldn't get this stuff on the screen, and I'll do my best to do so next time because this is going to be, and if there's a video after the game, these are going to be my last videos for a while, probably about a week or so, more like 5 days. Game one, expected goals in all situations. The Islanders had 2.06, Carolina had 3.25, and they won that game 3-1. So Freddie really came up big. The defense did its job, even though that was not Carolina's best effort. And then when you look at the stark contrast of game two, expected goals, all situations, the Islanders had 2.77. They scored 3. Carolina 5.63 and scored 5, including the empty netter. I wish you guys could see the heat map right now that I have of the shots because it is showing that Carolina had a much, much more dominant showing in game two. And that was why when I was watching that game, I was thinking about it the entire time. As frustrated as I was getting, I never got to the point where I was just ready to give up on it. I said, they're playing well. Even if they don't win this game, they can't say they played bad. They can still build on it. Pre-game news and lines, Ryan Hinkle reported that Brind'Amour said Jesper Fast might make the trip to New York, but that he more than likely would not be going, which would rule him out for both game 3 and 4. No need to rush him back. We've got plenty of depth everywhere on the depth chart now. Brett Pesce, lower body injury, is more than likely out for the rest of round one. That's actually good news because the alternative was him being out for the rest of the playoffs. Uh, Andrew Fantuccio reports that Ilya Sorokin will start game 3, which was expected. Waugh also said Martin is day-to-day and missed today's practice due to maintenance. No decision has been made yet on if he will play tomorrow night. Last I heard, he's not. Isles lines at practice from Steven Rosner. Casey Zizekas, Bo Horvat, Matt Barzell, Hudson Fasching, Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, J.G. Pajot, Pierre Engvall, Ishka excuse me, I'm sorry. Ishkakov. I'm sorry, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about whoever that is. I have no idea who he is. All I know is he's drawing into the lineup to help supplement their fourth line with Matt Martin potentially being out. Kyle McLean and Cal Clutterbuck. The defense, Romanov, Dobson, Adam Pelech, Ryan Pollock, Mike Riley, Robert Bortuzzo. So nothing different there from what I can tell. All right. So here's the biggest thing that I wanted to address. A lot of people are super, super, super concerned. I'll use that word, super concerned with Tony DeAngelo being in the lineup with Brett Pesce out. So, first thing to note with that, Brett Pesce can't play because he's injured. Second thing to note with that, a lot of people are saying to put Scott Morrow in. Here's the thing, Scott Morrow has a bright future, and I've heard nothing but good things about him. I have a ton of video clipped of him here for a video I'm going to make about him, similar to the one I made about Nikishin. But here is one thing that I can safely say. You do not put a guy with 2 games of NHL experience who just made a very difficult jump, mind you, from NCAA Division I hockey to the NHL. That's a difficult jump. It's to be commended. But for all we know, next year he's going to have to spend some time in the minors. 2 games is not enough of a sample size to know if someone's ready. And then there are people saying, oh, but Cale Makar. Cale Makar is the exception and not the rule. And there is absolutely no way that I think Scott Morrow is going to be as good as Cale Makar. He's going to be good, but he's not going to be Cale Makar good. And there's very few people who come remotely close to that level. So that is a irrational comparison. It should not even be made. So let's just get that out of the way now. Tony is the best option. It is his spot to lose. If he plays badly, then you consider going to Morrow. I also, prior to recording, saw that they called up Ronan Seeley. That's another option that you have there as well. Coughlin, who has not played an NHL game all year. Tony is the best option. Now, people are saying, well, will he be okay with Shea? Yes. I'm going to get into the statistical reasons behind that here in a moment. I have them pulled up in front of me. But people, when they say that Shea's not going to be able to cover up for Tony's defensive defensive deficiencies, you're also kind of, insulting Shea that way, because Brady Shea is excellent in all situations. The one thing I think he's better at than Slavin is being a 200-foot, all situations, two-way defenseman. Whereas Slavin is your shutdown guy. He gives you a little bit more in that regard. Or I'm sorry, a lot more in that regard, in my opinion. But Brady Shea's defensive game is nothing to sneeze at, and he can cover up for Tony DeAngelo, Tyson Barrie, Sean Dursey, people who I would trust less in this situation than him, for example, and he'll still produce some offense. Now I'm going to get into the numbers here. So every single defensive pair, we know who they are. Slavin Burns, Orlov Chatfield, Shea, Pesce, when it's normal. So for context, the only pair that has played more minutes than the the pair that's played the most minutes outside of the normal pairs is Shea and DeAngelo. So with 133.4 minutes in 23 games, Fenwick, they are at 52.5. Unblocked shot attempts for 106, unblocked shot attempts against 96, unblocked shot attempts for per 60 minutes 47.68, unblocked shot attempts against per 60 minutes 43.18. Now for context, Shea and Pesce, 994 minutes, 69 games played, 56.7% Fenwick from 814 unblocked shots for and 622 unblocked shot attempts against. Unblocked shot attempts per 60 minutes, 49.13 versus unblocked shot attempts against per 60 minutes, 37.54. Those are not drastically different numbers from Shea and Pesce to Shea and DeAngelo. Now, for a little bit more context, Orlov and Chatfield, which I'm going to say I think that has been the best pair this season, especially since they found chemistry around the time the Hurricanes had the players only meeting. 843.5 minutes over the course of 72 games. Fenwick percentage of 61.3. Unblocked shot attempts for 677. Unblocked shot attempts against 428. Unblocked shot attempt percentage per 60 minutes 48.15. Unblocked shot attempts against per 60 minutes. And then lastly, but not least, of course, Slavin and Burns. Highest TOI, 1,186 minutes together over the course of 81 games. 59.2% Fenwick, unblocked shot attempts for of 1,042, unblocked shot attempts against 718, unblocked shot attempts per 60 minutes of 52.7, unblocked shot attempts against per 60 minutes 36.33. There's not a ton of difference between all these pairs. So a lot of people want to cite when Tony and Shea played together in New York. You don't really need to. You've got enough of a sample size. You have a 23-game sample size where they've averaged about, doing some rough math, about 10 minutes, 11 minutes per game together, and that's their Fenwick numbers. Now, for comparison, I will also say in Corsi, 52 point. So going down the list here, Shea and D'Angelo, 52.3. Shea and Pesci, 58.2. Orlov and Chatfield, 61.3. Slavin Burns, 60.6. Shot attempts for, 145 versus 132. Shot attempts for per 60 minutes, 65.23. And then 59.38 for shot attempts against per 60 minutes. Let's see. Pesci, Shea, 994 minutes over 69 games, 58.2, 1,000. I'll just go with the percentages for Corsi here. 58.2% Corsi for them. Shot attempts for per 60 minutes, 69.54 versus 50.04. So there's not much of a difference between all these. And then when you get to where it really, really starts to taper off, the best one on this list in terms of Corsi and limiting shot attempts against is Orlov and Chatfield. 843.5 minutes, 72 games played, 61.3% Corsi, shot attempts for per 60 minutes, 65.72, excuse me, and 51.47 for shot attempts against per 60. So lastly, we'll look at how this pair could provide a little bit more offense for the Hurricanes. And when I start talking about Ilya Sorokin here in a few moments, you're going to see why this might actually be a little bit more important and in a way, maybe a blessing in disguise. So looking at expected goals, we're going to talk about expected goals per pair and then compare it to actual goals percentage. Slavin Burns, we don't need to worry about the time on ice. We've already talked about that. 57 expected goals, 59.2 expected goals for percentage, and they have a goals percentage of 58. So that lines up. It's like dead in the middle. It's exactly where it needs to be. 58 goals for, 42 against, goals for per 60 minutes, 2.93, goals against per 60 minutes, 2.12. So the advanced stats for that line, or for all these lines, I wish you guys could see what I'm looking at here, are lining up with each other. So Orlov Chatfield, goals for 59.4, or I'm sorry, expected goals for percentage 59.4, goals for percentage is 60, expected goals for is 38.7, actual goals for is 40. Goals against for them is 26, 2.85 per 60 minutes, and goals against 1.85 per 60 minutes. So the last comparison I'm going to make here is Shea and Pesci versus Shea and D'Angelo. 69 games versus 23 games together, mind you. That's important to this. Shea and Pesci had a goals percentage of 47.4 with an expected goals of 52.5. Expected goals for 43.9 for Shea and Pesci versus 36 goals for, or actual goals for, with Shea and Pesci. So the Shea and D'Angelo pairing had an expected goals percentage of 51.5, an expected goals for of 5.2, and they actually exceeded what the metric there was at, even though it's not the biggest sample size. Goals for percentage for Shea and D'Angelo is 62.5. Goals for 5, goals against 3, goals for per 60 minutes 2.25, goals against per 60 minutes 1.35. So in terms of the actual offensive upside of this pair, there's a lot of it there without giving up a ton defensively. And it also passes the eye test because I was down there for the Hurricanes versus Panthers game, and then when they played the Stars again 2 nights later, that pair looked really solid. They did not concede a goal. They had 2 points between the two of them and were +3 to simplify it. So this is the last time that I'm going to say it, and I stand by it. I know if Carolina loses tonight, certain other outlets are going to immediately blame Tony, but I will say this: Tony will be fine. Everything will be fine. But now I'm going to get into why I think the Islanders have an excellent chance, and I would say a greater chance of winning this game than the Hurricanes do. So, like I said, stuff that you guys can't really see here. Ilya Sorokin, as expected, is going to be in net for the Islanders tonight. Now, there's a multitude of reasons for this. One, Varlamov getting lit up the way that he did for 5 unanswered, it's not just totally on him. I would say it was less on him than it was the team in front of him based on what I was observing, because there were the Hurricanes had 110 shot attempts. So I don't really blame that on Varlamov. But the thing about it is, when you take this goaltending tandem that they have, which is a really good goaltending tandem, when Patrick Waugh, who's one of the greatest goalies that ever lived, goes in that locker room and says, "Sorokin, you're going in," that's a boost of confidence to one, Sorokin, and two, the team playing in front of him. And that's where those guys probably all got together and tried to send each other a message. Hey, we need to play better tonight. A goaltending change has been made. We let Varley down in the last game, and now we've got Sorokin behind us. Now, part of Sorokin's problem, why he fell off the way he did at the end of the season, the first 60% of the season, he was overworked. So now we're seeing a more rested Sorokin who has everything to play for and can be the catalyst that the Islanders need to turn the game around. So, for example, here, what we'll do is we'll look at his playoff metrics. Well, not necessarily his metrics, but his basic stats here. 2020-2021 season, he had 7 games played, 5 starts, 4 wins, 1 loss, a save percentage of .922, and goals against average of .279. So Sorokin can do pretty well in the playoffs. And if he can keep his goals against average under 3, it really, really gives the Islanders a chance to win. 2022-2023, 6 games played, 6 starts, 2 wins, 4 losses, .924 save percentage, and a .260 goals against average. Now, you may remember that series. That's when we played them last year. That's where those stats are from. So even in a series where they lost, he had a above .920 save percentage and a goals against average of 2.6. There's a reason that a lot of these games were so close last season and why they've been so close thus far in this playoffs. Now, to stress how overworked Varlamov was, through October, 6 games played, 6 starts. November, 8 games played, 8 starts. December, 10 games played, 10 starts. January, 11 games played, 10 starts. So, and then you go into February, 8 games played, 8 starts. He had a lot of games. He had more than Anderson or Kochekov or Ronta or any of our goalies had, for example. So part of it was he was a little bit overworked. He only had 4 starts in April, of which he won 3 of those and had 1 overtime loss. So let's go in a little bit deeper here. All right, so overall, his overall record from the season, 56 games played, and like I said, the vast majority of those came before the end of February. 55 starts, 25 wins, 19 losses, 12 overtime losses. The 12 overtime losses are not entirely on him. The team in front of him was having a really hard time closing out games, as we saw in Game 2. Yes, the Islanders did collapse in Game 2. The Hurricanes had to do the right things to force that collapse, though. Shot attempts, 1,822, saves 1,655 for a .908 save percentage. A little uncharacteristic of him, but like I said, now he's rested, and now the Islanders are probably more motivated than they have been at any point this season. So here's the other thing to look at: home and road splits. We'll talk about home first. 30 games played, 30 starts, 15 wins, 7 losses, 8 overtime losses, .913 save percentage. Goals against average of 2.81. And then on the road, 26 games played, 25 starts, 10 wins, 12 losses, 4 overtime losses, .903 save percentage. So he's only a little bit better at home. But a .913 save percentage can win you a game. Where the Hurricanes are doing a little bit better in that regard now is they're making a few more clean entries than what they ever have at any point under Brendan Moore. They need to have more. That being said, a lot of the same principles that I talked about before apply. The Hurricanes need to prevent the Islanders from scoring greasy goals, because like I said, if you guys could see that heat map, you would see, minus the Horvat goal, the Islanders have scored all their goals in tight so far. I imagine that they'll try to keep that trend going, so don't let them work into the interior of the ice. When it comes to Sorokin, it's almost they have to apply the same principle at the other end of the ice, but in reverse to work in tight and score on him. So, again, we've already talked about his overall record: 25 wins, 19 losses, 12 overtime losses, a goals against average of 3.01, save percentage of 0.908 in 56 games played. So that's his overall there. Now, what I have in front of me that unfortunately you guys can't see, I'm looking at his NHL edge stats. Goals against in a high danger area, he has a total of 76. Goals against in a mid range high danger area, which is like between the dots and that type of area, 62 goals total, 20 from the blocker side, 21 in the dead slot, 21 from glove side. And then long range chances, which are ones from up at the blue line, like when Carolina loves to shoot from there. 7 from the slot area, 7 blocker side, or I'm sorry, 7 from the slot area, 3 blocker side, 3 glove side. So the best thing you can do against Ilya Sorokin is do a lot of the same stuff that you did against Varlamov. Let me get out of here. Okay, so I can see the chat again. I'll get to talking to you guys, I promise. So anyway, so the next thing that they can do here is Varlamov, or I'm sorry, excuse me, Sorokin is going to be one of those guys that, or Sorokin is going to be the catalyst for the Islanders to turn the series around. We know it. They know it. Everybody knows it. So the best thing the Hurricanes can do to get themselves in a good position to win this game, put the Islanders on their heels early in the best way you know how. Hem them in their own zone, forecheck a bunch. You're not going to beat them with a ton of clean looks. You have to work your way into the interior. You have to work into the slot area, make second and third efforts, generate rebounds, crash and bang the net, cause chaos, if you will, in front of the net, and put them past them that way. If you can get a clean look on Sorokin and put a puck in, good job. But we saw with a lot of the goals that were scored in the series against him last season, including the game tying goal and the series winner in game 6, one came from a really weird angle. Thank you, Mr. Paul Stasny. I hope you're enjoying retirement. And one came from Aho being in the right place at the right time, having his stick down and taking a second whack at the puck and getting it in. So I imagine it will be a similar thing tonight if the Hurricanes are to beat the Islanders. All right, so let's see what we got here. BG says, let's go, brother. I agree. By the way, guys, if you have never checked out this dude's work, he's the reason I have this really cool video frame right here and everything like that. And then the next one here, he also says, big one tonight. Yeah, very big one tonight. If the Islanders are going to swing the momentum back in their favor, this is going to be it. And Griff was talking about this on Caniac Sessions yesterday. It made perfect sense. Losing is not good, but as long as they don't get dismantled, don't have a demoralizing loss like what was handed to the Islanders on Monday night, then, pretty good chance to win and everything like that. All right. Raleigh 98 says Islanders will increase their physical play for this game. Yes, because that is their best asset as a team, especially 5-on-5. That's the best chance that they have to turn the series around, is to get in there and throw the body on people and everything like that. So we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to see if any of my buddies are ready to come on, and we'll continue the group discussion. I appreciate you guys being here and everything like that. To everyone who's watched the stream so far, I expected this to be a significantly better stream. I'm sorry that I couldn't get the actual stats and the heat maps and everything like that up on the screen. I will have that figured out for hopefully round 2, because that'll probably be the next time I get a chance to make a video. So let me go ahead and take a break here right quick, and I will be right back. Okay, we're back. So Sam Driscoll from Caniac Report might be joining us here in a little bit, so that way we can, him and I can talk about the game a little bit because I basically already said everything that I have to say about it. I just hate that I couldn't put the stuff up on the screen because I think that you guys really would have liked what I had going on there and everything. I might make a video retroactively to show the things that I have. But I don't know why, but I just couldn't get them to come up. And you saw the display video that I had on the way in, the little starting soon with the countdown and everything like that. Um, yeah, I don't really have much else to talk about with this one. This live stream didn't go as I planned, but I promise in the future the quality of it will be significantly better. Uh, let's see. Give Sam a few more minutes and see if he'll jump in here. But yes, you're absolutely right. The Islanders will increase the physicality and everything like that. So the Hurricanes just gotta, don't let that get to them and everything. They'll be okay. We will be just fine. All right, we got some new viewers here and everything. Okay. All right, I'll tell you what, guys. I'm going to invite somebody in right now who's got about 5 minutes. And give me 1 second here. I'm going to invite in Griff from Caniac Sessions. All right. Let me get this going here. Compose. Oh my God, why are you being slow? There we go. All righty. So Griff will be in here for a moment. He's only going to get to stick around for about 5 minutes. All righty. So I just sent Griff an invite. There we go. Hey, bud. All right, let me get you. There we go. Gotcha. What's
How's
up,
it
bud?
going? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you okay. The stream can hear you okay and everything like that. Dude, it went kind of well, but like I had all these really cool graphics on there that I wanted to show and I couldn't get them displayed, so I'll have to try that again next time and everything. Everyone, if you guys don't know who this is, but we probably have a ton of mutual listeners and followers and everything. This is Griff from Caniac Sessions, one of my favorite Hurricanes podcasts. Thank you for joining us. Griff, what are your thoughts on the game tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, kind of my mindset's kind of the same as every other fan at this point. We want to make sure that we come in, get to our game quick, get our legs under us quick, start on time, withstand the inevitable push by the Islanders to start the game. I don't think everybody's expecting it. I'm sure the team is. Just establish their game, dictate the play, control the puck, all that cliche good stuff, right? And I think it's important. And then just pressure Sorokin, right? He's new to the series, and you just want to get as many pucks on net as you can, put pressure on him, similar to how we did Varlamov in the third period of last game. And eventually, he'll crack, and we'll be off to the races. So I think that's the key, being able to withstand the initial push. And I think I'm be flat honest with you. I think whoever scores the first goal in this game is going to go to win. Right? I think if Carolina can get the first goal, immediately they'll be in their heads, right? The Islanders' heads, especially after the third period in the last game.
Yeah, take the crowd out of it immediately.
Exactly. If the Islanders can get the first goal in this game, that might be their breath of fresh air, and that might be enough to push them to a win. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I think this will be the toughest game to win for Carolina. Other than the obvious comeback, but full 60 minutes, I think this will be the toughest test on the road, energized building. So, I mean, we'll see. I expect. I think we're going to get this one. I really do. I think. I think Freddie is. I think he maybe thinks that he had a rough game in game two, and I think I expect him to rebound and come out and be solid. So that's just my general thoughts. I will be getting home right at puck drop. We've got kid's got a baseball game
Mhm.
and general weeknight things. So yeah, I don't have much time, but wanted to jump in and just hang out for
So
a few minutes.
I'll ask you one quick question that I was thinking about this. I was listening to the rest of UNAB on the way home. Let's say Carolina, because you were anticipating there was a possibility of Kochetkov starting this game, and I
Yeah,
understand why you thought that that was a possibility. Now that we have that question answered, here's what I think: if Carolina wins tonight, do we give Kochetkov game 4 and give Freddie a decent respite?
I would say yes. I thought that Kochetkov would just start tonight just because, you know, going into a hostile environment, I feel like, this could be enough to Kochetkov works well when he's motivated, when there's a
Hmm.
storyline, when there's drama, I guess.
Hmm.
So I just thought that might be something to, throw him in there tonight. But, there's really no wrong answer here. But I expect them to split these two. I mean, it's a 2 o'clock game on Saturday, so maybe Rod treats it as a back to back.
Hmm.
And in the event that you do come back for a game 5 to Raleigh, then yeah, Freddie's ready to go. So I think that's what we'll see. Um, and it gives Kochetkov an opportunity to go in and close out the series.
Hmm. Well, so as soon as you're leaving here, it works out pretty well because Sam Wallace will be joining us as well as Sam Driscoll. I haven't heard anything from AB today, so I didn't know what he
Yeah,
was up
nobody
to.
has.
Yeah, no,
Nobody
he
has.
does that. He disappears for hours and hours, and then he'll text us nonstop and then disappears again.
Absolutely.
Oh,
All right. Well, hey, good stream. Watched
thank you,
most of
sir.
it. Go Canes, and I'll see you guys probably post game.
Let's go, Canes. Thank you, because I was running out of stuff to talk about. You helped me stimulate the brain here. But yeah, go have fun.
All right. See y'all.
Peace. All right, guys. So we will have another guest joining us here in a little bit. It will be Sam Wallace from the Caniac Report, and then we will probably also have Sam Driscoll joining shortly after that. So I'm gonna get this link sent to him, and then we'll keep going here. Give me 1 second. All right, but as soon as he's in here, we'll have some more stuff to talk about and everything like that. All right, let me get this guy set up here, and then we'll keep going. All righty. Okay, so yep, Sam Wallace will be in here in a moment. Let's see. We got a couple more comments here. Let's see what we got. Caveman NC says, I feel like the Islanders will come out and be overly aggressive, giving the Canes a early power play goal. That would be about the most ideal scenario that you could probably come up with at that point. I really think that that would be like pretty much perfect for the Canes because the power play percentage is not reflecting how good it actually, I think, has been, but it's also only been 2 games in the playoffs. And, special teams, I think, tend to take a dip, especially the power play. Maybe not so much the penalty kill with the Canes, but all right. So we got our next guest in here. That is Sam Wallace. Let me throw him in there. Hey, what's up, dude?
Well, going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I sent the other Sam a link, and he said that he will be joining here in a little bit as well. So, what are your thoughts tonight? We just had Griffin here. He gave his out, so I want to see what you think as well.
Well, I think we're gonna probably see, I think, the same thing that we saw the very end of the game. I think they're gonna get a little bit nasty tonight.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
like from right from the outset.
I do. Now, I could be wrong on that, but
Hmm.
because I mean, if you look at the series as a whole so far, they haven't played that physical game. It's just, I mean, you can make the argument being like, I mean, they were up 3-0
Hmm.
and they lost it at the end. Like, I
Yeah.
can totally see them being like, "Dude, we just lost it."
Yeah.
But, I could see them getting angry.
Hmm.
I think their biggest weapon is gonna be Sorokin, to be
Yes.
honest.
I agree. So I actually, when I was doing the first part of the show, I had like the little NHL Edge shot map and all kinds of his stats and stuff talking about it, but I couldn't get them displayed on the screen. So I just kind of read them off, and I can see why people probably didn't want to stick around for that because when you don't have the visual there. I can understand why it might frustrate people and everything like that. I was getting kind of frustrated not being able to know that people could see it and everything. But yeah, I do think Sorokin is the biggest factor in this game for both sides. One thing Griff and I were just discussing, if you can get to Sorokin early, if you can put the Islanders back on their heels and score on him early, whether it's 5-on-5 power play or shorthanded, that would be great.
Yeah.
If you can go ahead and get to him early, that's their ace in the hole. That's their last weapon that they have to really turn this game around like immediately. So that's what I think as well. That it's as long as they play their game, they will be fine. It's this is Carolina's series to lose at this point, but I'm not expecting Carolina to win tonight because I think this is the game that Sorokin steals. That's one of the narratives. The goaltending for the Islanders will steal a game. I think that this is that one. The only way that doesn't happen is if we score early, put them back on their heels, take the crowd out of it, and then go from there.
Yes, I completely agree. Scoring early, I think, is going to be crucial in this game. Carolina, I think, is going to keep playing probably the same tempo that they've played because from the last game, I believe, which I thought the second game was a lot better than the first game.
I do too.
I thought we're better in game one, which makes me a little bit worried about game three because Anders had a blueprint, sort of, from game one. So we'll see how tonight's go. I don't feel as much pressure as a Canes fan of winning this game as I did in the first two games. But I think as a Canes fan, all you want, especially on these next two games, win just one, bring it back home and finish it.
Yeah, and at least even if you lose, play well. Don't get dismantled. Because it's like you saw it last year in the playoffs when we beat New Jersey in game 4. That was it. They never remotely looked nearly as dangerous the entire time. Like even in game 3 where we lost 7-4, I think we had 2 shorthanded goals and Jordan Martinook Wayne Gretzky scored on a penalty shot.
Yeah.
So it's like, in any other game where you score 2 shorthanded goals and your fourth liner scores on a penalty shot, 99.99% of the time, you win that game.
Yes, you do. Now, New Jersey has a completely different style than the Islanders do.
Right. Yeah, it's much more tight checking. It's like when I was on the report with the other Sam the other night.
Yeah, the other Sam.
It got to the point where it's like it seemed like the Islanders were basically playing Red Rover in front of their own net, and they were like, okay, if I stand here, maybe I'll get hit with a shot. It got to the point where they weren't even trying to gap up on Carolina anymore, and they could just work the puck around the perimeter as much as they wanted to until they got the shot opportunity that they wanted. And 110 shot attempts later, we won. So it's like if Carolina wins tonight, it's going to be a very similar game to that. But, one of the other things I predicted, and I believe you said something similar, that all these games were going to be close as far as on the scoreboard. I said that I doubt any of them would be a greater difference than 2 unless you factor in empty nets. And so far, they've all been within 1 minus empty nets. That's like this is going to be another close game tonight, either way it swings, I think.
I think all the games are going to be pretty close just because Islanders are very good defensively, even though they broke down. I think they broke down, including Varlamov, which is why they are starting Sorokin. So, I mean, we'll see how that goes. I was really happy at the end of that game of how Aho. Oh,
there we go. Now we got everybody here.
Yes, we do.
All righty. Yeah, because
I was really
doing it.
But I was happy how Aho came alive at the end of the last game.
Yeah, that's one thing. When I did my little post-game stream the other night after game 2, Aho's been kind of invisible for those 2 games up until the end of game 2. And, you need your best players to be your best players, and he was kind of invisible for that one. So I'm hoping that, he'll turn it up in this one. And I've told people before, and y'all can, I would like to know what you guys think about this. I think that Aho is actually better on the road. It's like he turns his brain off and finds another gear. Like I want to take the time to actually look at his numbers, home versus away, but it just seems to me he's a better player on the road.
He might like being an underdog, maybe.
I I think that's what it is. I mean, he came onto an underdog team, and we knew that he was going to be good for us, but we didn't know he was going to become like the franchise first line center. I mean, none of us saw that coming.
No, I didn't either.
Mm-mm.
When I first saw him, I was like, okay, this is a good young player.
Solid
I
top six
don't know
winger.
what his ceiling is,
Yeah.
but he's a good young player, and now he's blossomed into. I don't know if I would say an all-star type of level, but he's elite.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah. He's definitely getting there. It's like if we have a franchise center as far as someone who will probably spend his entire career with the Canes, at the moment it's him.
Yes. Future captain too, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got a whole bunch of questions to answer in regards to like what happens when the offseason is over, but 25-meter target for now. But yeah, I've always seen that I feel like Aho's a better player on the road. It seems like when he scores really big goals that turns games around in the playoffs. Like for example, 2019 when he scored the shorthanded one in Washington, that was on the road. Then let's see
The Aho game-winning goal against Nashville.
That was the next one I was going to mention. That was on the road. I think he scored one against Tampa that was really important on the road in the modified bubble year. Yeah. No, it's just their road Aho is different. I really think he is. I think that maybe he just likes going into a hostile building. I think he thrives off of it. So if that's the case, if we play against the Rangers, he should just pretend PNC is MSG and then we'll be fine. It's like he accidentally walks out there wearing this white sweater and they're like, Fishy, what are you doing? He's like, oh, my bad. He goes back in the locker and puts his other one on.
If PNC, when you play the Rangers, and let's say geo-restrict tickets, it won't be too hard to pretend that it's MSG.
Maybe we should just start asking to wear white at home for those games.
I like the home crowd. I say we geo-restrict.
Yeah. But no, I'm all for the whole geo-restricting tickets thing and everything like that because like that's our barn. We should be able to enjoy it, but it's like you have people who are willing to pay an inordinate amount of money to go to 2 games a season that go in there and take over it. It's kind of the same thing for me up here. If I have to pay a little bit extra to go to the 1 to 2 times that Carolina is up here, I'm going to do it. But we also don't outnumber them by the thousands because a bunch of us live here. So, but yeah, I am looking forward to this game though. I really am. So,
I mean, I posted it on Twitter today. Mm-hmm. You saw the Islanders throw the kitchen sink at you these last 2 games. We have seen the best that they have to give. They have that is their ceiling. I cannot imagine that. And they could not even hold a 3-goal lead.
Yeah.
Because after they got it, they sat back. They couldn't maintain it because we're just too good. Carolina is too good for matchups to even be an issue. It won't be. The Islanders don't have anybody capable of exploiting the matchups. You have Kuznetsov on your 4th line. You have Svechnikov on your 3rd line. You got Natchez on your 2nd line. You got Aho, Jake Gensel on your 1st line. I guess Jarvis is technically on that 3rd line right now.
Yeah.
But there is an all-star on every single line that can make you pay.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely agree with that. It's like there's it's almost like our forward group now is almost built like our defense is, how you have a safety valve who's a shutdown, stay-at-home defenseman type of guy, and then you have someone who's more offensively minded, puck mover, will jump in the rush and everything like that. It seems like the defense is almost built out that way. It's like you have one really good two-way player. You have one guy who's really, really offensively minded and who will, maybe cheat a little bit to try to get through the neutral zone faster. And then you have another guy who's a little bit more defensively minded, but also like a good playmaker. Like any combination of Aho, Gensel, Jarvis, Svechnikov, and Jarvis will give you that, for example. So, yeah, it's almost like this team is built to be balanced all 4 ways. So that's like when the other team looks down at the ice, whenever they jump over the boards, they're going, oh, shit, it's that line. And then they're saying the exact same thing for whatever line they're up against next.
Yeah, I don't see the Islanders having any capability.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't. I expect them to come out hard. They're going to play very good for the first 10 minutes, is whether that'll be sustained. And depending on what happens in that first 10 minutes will probably dictate the game. But if Carolina, just you have to realize it. I mean, there's only one other series I think that's gone on in the NHL that I think is gone. It's done, and I think it's Dallas and Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose 2 games at home and then expect to come back. So I don't think. I think that series is more over. That's a gut.
I'm shocked.
Right? You lose 2 games.
Dallas. series.
Mhm.
You lose 2 games at home. That's a gut punch.
Yeah.
You lose a 3-0. You are up 3-0 and you lose. That
Mhm.
is a gut punch. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to believe that the Islanders have zero belief in themselves right now, and I bet that's true. They have no confidence in themselves. Just look at the
Mhm.
end of the game. Steph Nason lurches at Matt Martin. He flinches. I mean, there's no confidence there.
Well,
But
to
he
be
does
fair,
come back out.
if Steph Nason lurched at me, I would probably have a more animated reaction than Matt Martin. That's just me. Jersey
Yeah, I would
Sean.
too.
All right, cool. We got a comment here. Let's see. Jersey Sean says, "How do you feel about the likely matchup with the Rangers in the second round? I really like their odds this year compared to 2022, and even then they got up 2-0 and 3-2 in that series." A potential matchup with the Rangers this time. I'll let you guys have the first crack at that question. I'll leave it up to.
Well, I mean, I think this year we're better than we were last time we played the Rangers. And if I'm honest, I think the Rangers roster is worse than when we played them the last time.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a matter of which Sturkin we see and which Freddie Anderson we see. I don't
Mhm.
think Freddie has given his best. I don't think we've seen his best this series yet. I think he's made a couple of very good saves, but we haven't seen his best yet this series.
Mhm.
So if we see his best against the Rangers, he can match Shesterkin game to game. It will be very tight.
Mhm.
Depends on if Natchez shows up. I don't think he's really shown up in this series yet. So does he show up against the Rangers? What's going on with Brett Pesce? Is this a Tony DeAngelo revenge tour series against the Rangers? I don't know. I think he's going to want it. He knows how it ended last time. He's going to want to change that this time.
Yeah,
So I think there's a lot of factors when you play New York. I think we're better. I think it's obviously going to matter of who wins on the road. And Carolina has to win on the road to win that series because they will not have home ice. But I think Carolina takes game 1 in that series and sets the tone.
that would be
So I do
great.
believe they win.
Yeah. Sam Wallace, go right ahead.
I am cautiously optimistic about the Rangers second round. Now, here's the thing. Right now, they're versing Washington. And, I mean, it looks like they're probably going to win that series.
Mhm.
I'm not surprised. But I think from what I've seen in that Washington series, I think part of it's just, I mean, Ovechkin has not gotten going at all. You have lots of players for Washington that's just not been good. Even though they played a little bit better in game 2. So I mean, Rangers are going to go up against a huge test in Carolina. I agree with Sam in the fact that I think we've gotten the better roster compared to the Rangers. Now, if we played the Rangers of last year, yeah, I'd be very concerned because they had Patrick Kane and Tarasenko. But I think the biggest factor is going to be offense for Carolina.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. Can you crack Sturkin? And if you do, I think you win. And you have to play 5-on-5 against the Rangers. You go on the penalty kill, power play, whatever. Rangers are probably going to have you.
Right.
So,
Yeah, if it becomes a special teams matchup, then the odds definitely shift heavily to the Rangers. Now, the one thing that I would think is really different here, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't have Freddie the last time we played them. He was getting close to being back, but then we lost game 7, if I remember correctly. And Ronta and Kochetkov were the ones that were in net for that, I think.
Yes, it was Ronta
Okay.
Kochetkov. Ronta got hurt, which is why I
Yeah.
believe Kochetkov came in, and the game was just a disaster. And I think Jarvis went down in that game. It was the worst game, playoff game I've ever attended. And I went
that was an
actually-
elimination
against
game.
Boston when they swept
Yeah.
us.
I actually remember I was watching that game, and then when Heedle scored, I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to watch the Braves. I flipped over to that, and I said, they're losing too. You know what, fuck sports. I turned the TV off, and I walked away from it. My girlfriend was sitting there snickering at me. But it's like, yeah, I think that the next thing that if the Hurricanes were to play the Rangers in the next round, which is currently the likely matchup, but we still have to take care of the other New York team first, I think that one of the biggest differences would be having Freddie. This team is better than what it was, and by extension, with what you were talking about with where we would need the offense to beat the Rangers and everything. If Pesci's not back yet, when it comes to offense, Tony generates it through pinching and keeping the puck at the other end of the ice. That leads to zone time, that leads to scoring chances, and that leads to goals. So I'm not going to say that I would rather have him in the lineup than a healthy and available Pesci, but there is an upside to him being in that could work in the Hurricanes' favor ultimately, as long as everybody plays well. I just hate that people are saying stuff like, "Oh, well, he's not gonna do well matched up with Shea. Shea can't cover him." I'm like, okay, now you're shitting on Brady Shea. Have you never watched how good he is defensively, especially like, the first season, it took him a little bit to adapt. Then Gleason got a hold of him and his defensive game improved, and he did it without sacrificing the numbers he puts up. It's remarkable. Like, Brady Shea's always been good, but in the last couple of seasons with Carolina in particular, he showed how amazing of a two-way defenseman that he is. So him being with someone like Tony, they'll both be fine. They really will.
And I think defensively. Go ahead.
I think having Tony in the lineup at this moment is a benefit for one specific reason. And I know our friends over at Caniac Sessions don't agree with me on this, but I think Brent Burns has not been very good in this series.
Yeah, I agree.
And I have been disappointed, and the power play has not been very good. And I think you have to consider there's only one player on this team who is a pure power play quarterback, and it's Tony.
Correct.
And he's going to be playing extended minutes during his stint in the roster. I don't know if the first unit specifically can't generate anything because the puck's popping over Burns' stick or he can't get the puck deep. I think it's time to move Tony DeAngelo to that spot. Yeah, he's wrong.
It's like speak of the devil type of stuff.
Yeah, no, he's wrong.
Yeah, I felt like Burns had an uncharacteristic game. I don't want to say bad. Bad would be like, hey, you cost us a game winning goal.
Okay.
Yeah,
game 1 was bad, game 2 was fine.
Well, I mean, the whole team was kind of bad in game 1. Let's see. Absolutely not, Sam.
Well, we'll see what he does. I think Burns has been incapable of contributing on the power play. He's hesitant to shoot. He's turned the puck over. We were on the power play. He turned the puck over in our zone in front of me, where we sit in front of me.
That led to that shorthanded chance, right?
In. Yeah, that was Burns. Yeah. He skated in and almost scored. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we're on the power play. I'm saying Tony is an elite passer. I mean, look, this is nothing against Brent Burns. Literally nothing against Brent Burns. He's only 40.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't expect him to play perfect, right? He's not Jaromir Jagr. He's not going to be playing until he's 50. But, I mean, I like Burns. I do. But if you power play one isn't going, I think you got to.
Well, and then the other part about that is Burns, you use him to kill penalties. You don't use Tony to kill penalties, and you shouldn't. I remember when he was out there with Slavin at times on the penalty kill a couple of seasons ago, I was sitting there, I'm like, oh my God. Well, at least you know where they're going to try and force the play to, the other team's power play and everything. Caniac Session says, love y'all, go Canes. We love you too, buddy.
And I got to step
Burns,
out.
He hasn't been that
good. I got to step out too, guys. So I will enjoy this game. Go Canes, and let's go ahead and put a dagger in the backs of the Islanders.
I agree. I think that I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream then, because it's going to be about time for my girlfriend got pizza and wings for us and everything, so she's going to start, cooking the wings in the fryer and putting the pizza in the oven, all that type of stuff and everything. But I'm really glad you guys could make it here, because this is probably going to be my last video for, let's see, get moved this weekend. I want to get everything hung up. I'm thinking 5 days, maybe a week, and then I'll be good to go after that. But thank you very much for coming in. Everyone, if you have not checked out Caniac Sessions or the Caniac Report, I highly recommend it. These guys do really good work, and I've done a couple of collabs with them. And, excuse me, and it's always been a whole lot of fun. So everybody take care. And I promise the quality of the stream will improve. If you have any recommendations for me, please let me know. Leave them in the comment section, all that type of stuff. And I promise I will take whatever advice you guys have to improve the product here. Y'all take care. I'll see you next time.